Welcome to our deep dive into the world of shame.
Ooh, exciting.
We're going to be exploring
Yeah.
this often hidden emotion
hmm
with the help of Brene Brown's book. I thought it was just me.
Great book.
And I have to tell you, I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, me too.
It's not just about understanding shame.
Right.
It's about building resilience to it
Mm.
so that you can navigate the world with more courage and connection.
Definitely. That's the goal.
I'm ready to feel empowered.
What's fascinating about this deep dive is that it's not just theoretical.
Yeah.
It's about giving you practical tools to actually break free from shame's grip
Okay.
and step into a more empowered version of yourself.
I like that. A more empowered me.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we dive into the solutions,
Mm-hmm.
let's unpack what shame really is.
Okay.
Because I'll admit, before reading this book, I
Yeah.
kind of lumped shame and guilt together.
Right.
I know, rookie mistake, right?
Well, it's a common misconception,
Yeah.
but Brown makes a clear distinction. Guilt is that feeling of, I did something bad,
Ah.
like eating all the cookies before anyone else could have one.
Oops, guilty as charged.
Right, we've all been there.
Definitely done that.
But shame is different.
Mm.
It's that deeper, more insidious feeling of, I am bad.
Oh.
It's that gut punch feeling of unworthiness.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Right,
Yeah.
like something's fundamentally wrong with you as a person.
Wow.
And that's why shame is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you want to hide, disappear, isolate yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
It's called the silent epidemic because we're so
Yeah.
terrified to talk about it.
And that fear of talking about shame just makes it worse,
Like,
right?
absolutely.
It makes you feel even more alone and isolated.
Exactly.
It's like a vicious cycle.
But here's the thing,
Okay.
and this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
Shame is universal.
Really?
Everyone experiences it to some degree.
Wow, I had no idea.
It might have actually evolved as a survival mechanism, helping our ancestors stay connected to the group
Oh, interesting.
and avoid social rejection.
So, in a way, shame was wired into us to help us survive.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
But in today's world,
yeah,
while we don't need to worry about being banished from the tribe
right.
for, say, forgetting to share our berries,
Oh, right.
those same shame triggers can make us feel incredibly isolated,
That makes sense.
even though the stakes are much lower.
Yeah, it still feels terrible.
It does.
So, how do we break free from this web of shame,
Good question.
especially when it feels so deeply ingrained?
Well, Brown argues that the first step is recognizing that we're not alone.
Okay,
Shame thrives on secrecy and silence,
right.
but when we bring it out into the open,
Yeah.
when we acknowledge it,
Mm-hmm.
we start to take away its power.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then we can start to unravel the web that fuels it.
She calls it a web, right?
You got it.
Because it's not just an internal battle.
Right.
There are all these external forces at play.
Yeah.
That's a good way to think about it.
Brown talks about societal expectations, media messages,
Mhm.
all these things that constantly tell us who, what, and how we should be.
Yeah, there are so many shoulds.
There are.
And these expectations, especially for women,
Right.
can be incredibly conflicting.
Absolutely.
Oh, tell me about it.
Like what?
Like, on the one hand,
Okay.
we're told we should be dedicated stay-at-home mothers,
Mm-hmm.
fully immersed in our children's lives.
Right.
But then we're also expected to be ambitious,
Yeah.
successful career women,
Totally.
leaning in and shattering glass ceilings.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is.
It really is.
Like we're set up to fail no matter what we do.
Yeah, I feel that.
And the media doesn't help, right?
No, definitely not.
We're constantly bombarded with unrealistic images and messages about everything from appearance and success
Yeah.
to motherhood and even aging.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's this constant exposure to unattainable ideals
Er.
that keeps the shame cycle spinning.
Okay, so we've got this internal shame gremlin
Yeah.
and this external web of expectation.
It's double whammy.
No wonder we feel trapped.
Exactly.
It feels like we're fighting a losing battle.
There's got to be a way out, right?
There has to be, right?
There is.
Okay, tell me there's a way out.
And this is where Brown's work gets really empowering.
Well, ready?
She says that recognizing shame
Yeah.
and all those external forces feeding it
Mm-hmm.
is the first step towards building resilience.
So how do we actually do that?
Good question.
Like, how do I know when shame is creeping in and
Yeah.
starting to pull the strings?
It's about becoming aware of that feeling in your body, in your thoughts, in your behaviors.
Oh, interesting.
It often hits us before we even realize it,
Oh, wow.
like a sneak attack.
So it's like a wave of intense emotion,
Right.
fear, blame, anger.
Yes.
And before you know it, you're reacting in ways that just make things worse.
Exactly.
I hate that.
It's like a shame spiral.
Ugh, I've been there.
Let's say you have this sudden urge to hide or disappear after a social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
That could be shame rearing its ugly head.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe scrolling through social media for hours, comparing yourself to everyone's perfectly curated lives.
Totally been there.
That's another classic shame response.
I've been caught red-handed.
But the good news is,
Okay.
once you can identify those shame triggers,
Right.
those specific situations or topics that set you off,
Yeah.
you can start to take back control.
And I'm guessing this is where those fill-in-the-blanks come in, right?
You got it.
The ones Brown talks about in the book.
Exactly.
That sounds interesting.
She says to try this.
Okay.
I want to be perceived as blank. I do not want to be perceived as blank.
Wow. Okay.
And do it for different areas of your life,
Mm-hmm.
work, relationships, parenting,
Yeah.
and see what comes up.
I love this.
It's a good exercise.
It's like a direct line to those hidden fears and insecurities
Right.
that are driving our shame. For example, I did this exercise and realized
Yeah.
that a big trigger for me is being perceived as incompetent,
Oh, interesting.
especially at work.
Which makes total sense.
Right.
We all have these vulnerabilities.
Yeah, for sure.
And for you, it sounds like that fear stems from this belief that you're not smart enough or capable enough.
Oh, wow. Yeah, maybe.
But here's the thing.
Oy.
Those are just thoughts, not facts.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And this is where the next element of shame resilience comes in.
Okay, ready.
Reality checking.
Okay, so let's say my shame trigger is being perceived as a bad mom, which honestly feels like a universal trigger these days.
It probably is.
How do I reality check that?
Brown would say to examine those expectations.
Okay.
Are they realistic?
Good question.
Whose expectations are they really?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Are they even your expectations?
Right.
Or are they something you've internalized from society, your family,
Mhm.
or even those perfectly filtered Instagram feeds we were just talking about?
Wow, yeah, good point. Right.
When you put it like that,
Mm-hmm.
it suddenly feels a lot less personal.
Right.
It's like detaching from the shame
Exactly.
and seeing things more objectively.
You got it.
It's like taking a step back
Yeah.
and looking at it from a different angle.
And it's about asking those tough questions.
Yeah.
Like, can I truly be the perfect mother all the time?
Probably not.
Or are these expectations even attainable?
No, I don't think so.
Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
the answer is usually and no.
Right.
But I think that brings us to the fourth element,
Okay.
which is probably the hardest one,
Okay, hit me with it.
reaching out.
Oh, yeah?
Because shame makes us want to isolate,
Yes.
to hide our perceived flaws.
For sure.
But I'm guessing that's the opposite of what we should be doing.
You nailed it.
Connection is the antidote to shame.
I knew it.
Having people you can be vulnerable with, without judgment, is key to breaking the shame cycle. But vulnerability is terrifying.
It is.
It really is.
It takes courage to show up authentically
Yeah.
and share those messy, imperfect parts of yourself.
Definitely scared.
But Brown argues that vulnerability is the birthplace of courage, compassion, and connection.
Wow, that's a powerful reframe.
It is.
So instead of seeing vulnerability as weakness,
Yeah,
we need to see it as the pathway to building genuine connections.
exactly.
And ultimately, a more authentic life.
Absolutely.
I like that.
And it's not just about our personal relationships.
Okay.
It's about building a culture where vulnerability is celebrated, not shamed.
I think we need more of that.
We do too.
And that starts with each of us being brave enough to speak our shame,
Yeah.
to collect with others,
Mm.
and to challenge those unrealistic expectations that keep us feeling small and unworthy.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
I'm ready. Welcome back.
Okay, we're back.
I'm curious,
Yeah.
now that we've laid the groundwork for understanding shame
Mm-hmm.
and how it operates, what's resonating with you so far?
Honestly,
Yeah.
the whole idea that shame might have been a survival mechanism for our ancestors
Right.
is mind-blowing.
I know.
It makes me see it in a totally different light.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And it makes sense, right?
It does.
If you were constantly being judged or ostracized by your tribe,
Mm-hmm.
your chances of survival would plummet.
Yeah, you'd be out of luck.
It's like natural selection in action.
Exactly.
But in today's world,
Yeah.
it feels like that alarm bell is going off constantly,
Right.
even when there's no real danger.
Exactly.
Like if I post a selfie and don't get enough likes,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I'm spiraling into a shame hole about not being pretty enough.
Whoa, I hate that.
I know, right?
It's like those likes are a measure of your worth.
Exactly.
And that's precisely what Brown is trying to help us unravel.
Yeah.
It's not about eliminating shame altogether.
Right.
Because, let's face it,
Yeah.
that's probably impossible.
True.
It's about learning to recognize it, challenge those unrealistic expectations, and build resilience to those triggers
Right.
that send us spiraling.
Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because I'm all for resilience.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like those shame gremlins have a real strong grip on my brain.
They do.
It's hard to shake them.
Well, that's where those 4 elements of shame resilience come in.
Okay.
Recognizing, understanding your triggers, reality checking,
Right.
reaching out.
Yeah, we talked about those.
And one of the best ways to see this in action
Okay.
is through the real-life stories Brown shares in the book.
Yes.
She's a great storyteller.
The stories are what make this book so relatable.
They are.
Because let's be honest, theory is great,
Yeah,
but it's the personal experiences that really hit home.
totally agree.
Those are the things that stick with you.
And one story that really struck me
Okay, tell me about it.
was Jillian's.
Jillian.
She talked about feeling so much shame about her body image,
I can relate to that.
especially after having children.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough time.
Right.
And she talked about how those fashion magazines with the supermodel moms on the beach
Ah, I hate those.
would totally trigger her shame.
Oh, yeah.
It made her feel like she wasn't good enough,
Right.
like she had somehow let herself go
It's awful.
because her stomach wasn't perfectly flat 6 weeks postpartum.
It's like they're setting us up for failure.
They are
Like, who can live up to that?
nobody.
And on top of that,
Yeah.
she was also feeling pressure to be this nurturing,
Right.
ever-present stay-at-home mom.
It's like, pick a lane, society.
Right.
You can't be both.
It's impossible.
It's like we're being sold this impossible fantasy of having it all
Right.
without any of the messiness or imperfections of real life.
And it's so easy to fall into that comparison trap.
It is.
Especially with social media constantly bombarding us with curated versions of everyone else's seemingly perfect lives.
Absolutely.
It's hard not to compare yourself.
But Jillian's story offers a powerful reminder.
Yeah.
Those expectations are often unattainable and, frankly, absurd.
They are.
We're comparing ourselves to a carefully constructed image,
Right.
a fantasy that doesn't reflect the reality of motherhood
Yeah.
or, honestly, any aspect of being human. It's like those Instagram versus reality posts.
Yeah, I love those.
But for our entire lives.
It's so true.
And I love how Jillian decided to take control of her shame triggers
Okay, how'd you do that?
by limiting her exposure to those triggering images.
Oh, interesting.
She started being more mindful of the shows her kids watched
Okay.
and even canceled her fashion magazine subscriptions.
Wow, good for her.
It's a small step,
Yeah.
but it's a powerful act of reclaiming her mental space
Right.
and choosing to focus on what truly matters.
That's a good reminder.
It's like creating a buffer zone between you and those unrealistic expectations
Yeah.
that fuel the shame spiral.
I like that.
And speaking of stories that hit home,
Okay, what else?
Kayla's experience at work really resonated with me.
Oh, Kayla.
The one where she got criticized
Okay.
for having family drama
Oh, right.
after confiding in her boss
Yeah.
about becoming a caregiver for her father.
That's terrible.
And the irony is,
Yeah.
she was actually mimicking her boss's behavior.
What?
She was shaming other coworkers
Yo.
for the same thing she was being shamed for.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's like she had internalized those unhealthy expectations
Right.
and was unconsciously perpetuating the cycle of shame.
It's amazing how easily we can become both victims and perpetrators of shame.
It is, isn't it?
And Kayla's story highlights how pervasive shame can be,
Yeah.
especially in the workplace.
It can be brutal.
It's like this unspoken pressure
Right.
to present this perfect, polished facade,
Like you've got it all together.
even when you're juggling a million things behind the scenes.
Exactly.
And for women especially,
yeah.
it feels like there's this added layer of pressure to be everything to everyone. The perfect employee.
The superwoman.
The perfect mom, the perfect partner, the perfect friend.
Impossible.
And never show any cracks in the facade.
It's exhausting.
It really is.
And Kayla's experience is a reminder that the workplace can be a breeding ground for shame,
Yeah, I could see that.
particularly for women who are often expected to take on a disproportionate share of caregiving responsibilities.
Right.
It's not fair.
And I think her story also speaks to the power of speaking shame.
It does.
Because when we stay silent, when
Yeah.
we keep those feelings bottled up, it just gives shame more power over us.
Exactly.
Like we're feeding the monster.
It's like we're giving tacit approval
Right.
to those unhealthy expectations.
But when we speak up,
Yeah.
when we challenge those beliefs, we start to dismantle the shame web.
We do, both for ourselves and for others.
So the ripple effect,
I love
creating a space for more authenticity and vulnerability in the workplace and beyond.
Okay, so we've talked about recognizing shame
Yeah.
and understanding our triggers.
The first two steps.
But what about that third element, reality checking?
Right.
What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it's about taking those shame-inducing thoughts and beliefs
Okay.
and putting them on trial.
Ooh, interesting.
It's like being your own defense attorney and cross-examining those negative thoughts.
I love that analogy.
Like, uh-huh.
So let's say my shame gremlin is telling me, you're a terrible mom because you let your kid watch TV for an hour
Okay.
so you could get some work done.
Classic shame gremlin.
How do I cross-examine that belief?
You can ask yourself,
Okay.
is it really true that I am a terrible mom because I prioritize my work sometimes?
Good question.
What evidence do I have to support that?
Probably not much. What are the alternative explanations for my actions?
Okay, so maybe the alternative explanation is that I'm a human being
Right.
who needs to work to support my family,
Exactly.
and that sometimes I need a break to recharge
It's okay to take a break.
so I can be a better parent.
Yes, self-care is important.
And you could also ask yourself,
Right.
whose expectations am I trying to live up to?
Good question.
Are these my own values, or am I trying to conform to some external standard
Right.
that doesn't even resonate with me?
Wow, that's a powerful question.
It is, isn't it?
Because so often, those shame triggers are tied to expectations that we've internalized from society or our families without ever stopping to question whether they actually align with our own values.
It's like we're on autopilot,
We are.
living by someone else's rule book.
And that's where that fourth element, reaching out,
Yeah,
becomes so crucial, right?
it does.
Because it's in those safe and supportive connections that we can start to untangle those internalized beliefs
Right.
and build a stronger sense of self-compassion.
It's like having a support system
Exactly.
to help you through those tough times.
And Brown argues that vulnerability is not just about sharing our struggles.
Okay.
It's also about celebrating our strengths
Yeah, I like
and
how
embracing our imperfections.
it's about letting go of that need to be perfect
Totally.
and giving ourselves permission to be fully human,
Yes.
messy parts and all.
And she talks about this idea of building a connection network.
Okay, a connection network.
Those relationships that nourish our souls
Right.
and help us withstand the storms of shame.
Which is the opposite of the shame web.
Exactly.
Those relationships that reinforce those unhealthy expectations
Right.
and keep us trapped in those negative cycles.
It's about choosing your people wisely.
Yeah. Who you surround yourself with matters.
It does.
It's about surrounding ourselves with people who see us,
Yeah.
accept us,
Well.
and love us for who we truly are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that, I think, is the foundation of true resilience.
I love that.
The beautiful thought.
And I love how Brown emphasizes that this is an ongoing process.
It is.
That there will be setbacks and challenges along the way.
We're all human.
But with each act of courage,
Yes.
each moment of vulnerability, each connection we forge,
And all adds up.
we're chipping away at that culture of shame
We are.
and creating a more compassionate, authentic world.
A better world for everyone.
I love that.
And in that more compassionate world,
Mm-hmm.
we can start to challenge those deeply ingrained societal expectations and stereotypes
Right.
that fuel so much of our shame.
Yeah, we need to dismantle those harmful narratives.
Absolutely.
Because shame doesn't just operate on a personal level.
Right.
It also has a powerful impact on how we view and treat others.
It can be weaponized,
Yes, unfortunately.
used to silence dissent, maintain power imbalances,
Wow.
and reinforce those harmful stereotypes.
It's like a tool of oppression that keep certain groups marginalized.
So it's not just about building individual resilience.
Right.
It's also about creating a more just and equitable society
I love that.
where everyone has the opportunity to thrive
Yes.
without being burdened by shame.
That's the dream. So
It feels like we've been on this incredible journey,
it has been.
unpacking the complexities of shame
For sure.
and how it shows up in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious,
Yeah.
what are some of your biggest takeaways so far?
I think one of the most powerful concepts for me
Okay.
is the idea that shame thrives on secrecy.
Right.
It makes us want to hide, to isolate ourselves.
For sure.
But when we have the courage to speak our shame, to bring it out into the open, we start to chip away at its power.
And speaking of speaking shame, that's something Brown talks about a lot in the book.
She does?
It's not just about venting, right? It's about finding the words to articulate those often messy feelings and reaching out for connection, even when it feels terrifying.
It can be scary.
But it's so important.
It is.
And she provides some really practical guidance on how to do this.
Like what?
For example, she talks about using I statements to express your feelings and needs without blaming or attacking.
So it's not about pointing fingers.
Right.
Like, instead of saying, you always make me feel so stupid.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely said that.
We've all been there.
You might say, I feel hurt and embarrassed when you criticize me in public.
That's a good example.
Okay, so it's about owning your experience, but also being mindful of the other person's feelings.
It's about finding that balance.
It sounds like a delicate balance.
It is.
But I can see how it would lead to a more productive and compassionate conversation.
Absolutely.
It's about communication, right?
It is.
It's like really communicating instead of just reacting.
And it takes courage to be vulnerable like that.
It does.
Especially when we're used to hiding those parts of ourselves.
You're sure.
But remember what Brown says.
Okay, remind me.
Vulnerability is not weakness.
Right.
It's the birthplace of courage, compassion, and connection.
I love that.
The good one.
It's the key to living a more authentic and wholehearted life.
I agree.
I love that framing.
That's powerful.
So if we think back to those shame screens, moving away, moving toward, moving against.
On 3 reactions.
Speaking shame is about finding a new way to respond.
I like that.
One that fosters connection rather than disconnection.
It's about building bridges.
Exactly.
Precisely.
It's about moving toward vulnerability, toward authenticity.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it feels uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And this applies not just to our personal relationships, but also to the larger culture of shame that we've been talking about. Brown argues that we need to be more willing to challenge those societal expectations and stereotypes that fuel shame.
Like what?
Especially those that target marginalized groups.
Oh, yeah.
She talks about the importance of demystifying and deconstructing those harmful narratives.
It's about breaking them down.
For instance, there's so much shame associated with divorce.
Right.
Particularly for women.
It's like society wants to slap a label on them.
Yeah, it's awful.
Broken, damaged goods, a failure.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
It is.
And Brown encourages us to look beyond the stereotypes. And recognize the systemic factors that contribute to the economic and emotional hardships many women face after divorce.
It's about understanding the bigger picture.
It's about shifting the blame from the individual to the larger societal structures that perpetuate inequality.
And she challenges us to be more mindful of the language we use.
Yeah, words matter. Like, instead of labeling a woman as a bitter divorcee, we could acknowledge the immense strength and resilience it takes to navigate such a challenging life transition.
Absolutely.
It's about replacing judgment with empathy.
I love that.
Recognizing that everyone has a story.
For sure.
And offering support rather than condemnation.
We need more of that in the world.
Another area where Brown encourages us to challenge the culture of shame is in the realm of credentials and expertise.
Oh, interesting.
Particularly in fields like healthcare and education.
Makes sense.
She argues that those power dynamics can often create a culture of silence. Where patients or students feel intimidated or afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, I've been there.
For fear of appearing stupid.
It's like we're taught to blindly trust the experts, even when we don't fully understand what's going on.
And this can be incredibly disempowering.
It is.
Especially when it comes to our own health and well-being.
Absolutely.
We need to feel empowered to advocate for ourselves.
Yes.
But Brown encourages professionals to be more approachable. To create a space where vulnerability is welcomed.
That would be great.
And to recognize that everyone, regardless of their background or expertise, deserves to be treated with respect and dignity.
I agree.
And it's a two-way street.
It is.
As patients or students, we need to feel empowered to speak up.
Absolutely.
To ask those questions.
Even if it feels scary.
Even if it feels uncomfortable.
Because knowledge is power.
It is.
And we have a right to access that knowledge.
Yes.
Without feeling ashamed or inadequate.
It's about reclaiming our agency.
I like that.
Recognizing that we're not just passive recipients of information, we're active participants in our own learning and healing journeys.
And speaking of reclaiming our agency,
Okay.
Brown also challenges us to demystify those areas of our lives where shame often thrives in silence.
What?
Like sex and health.
Oh, yeah, those are big ones.
Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable people get when you mention the word vagina?
It's like a taboo word.
It's like this taboo subject that you're not supposed to talk about.
It's like we're supposed to pretend it doesn't exist.
Openly and honestly.
Yeah, it's weird.
But Brown encourages us to break those taboos. To have more open and honest conversations about sex and our bodies.
Yes, we need more of that.
To challenge those societal norms that keep us feeling ashamed or embarrassed.
It's about reclaiming our bodies,
Yes.
our sexuality, our health.
Absolutely.
And refusing to let shame dictate our experiences.
And it's about seeking out information and support.
Right.
Without feeling judged or condemned.
We all deserve that.
Exactly.
I'm feeling incredibly inspired.
Me too.
And I hope our listeners are too.
I hope so.
This deep dive into shame resilience has been eye-opening and empowering.
It has.
It's given me a whole new perspective on how to navigate the world with more courage, compassion, and connection.
Those are the key ingredients.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
It is.
It really is.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
That's a good reminder.
Shame is universal.
Right?
But so is the capacity for resilience, growth, and connection.
I love that.
So keep practicing those tools.
Okay.
Keep reaching out.
Yeah.
Keep speaking your shame.
We can do this.
And keep shining your light.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's given you some valuable insights and tools to start building your own shame resilience.
I hope so.
Remember, even small steps can make a big difference.
They can.
So what's one small act of courage, compassion, or connection
Good question.
that you can take today?
What will it be?
It could be reaching out to a friend, challenging a negative thought, or simply acknowledging your own imperfections with kindness.
Those were all great ideas.
The journey starts now.